What have you missed? I'll give you a very brief recap. We found a dead guy. We followed his assailants till we found some goblins. We killed the goblins. We discovered that there were elves living nearby. We warned those elves of the goblins. The elves were like, yeah, we're well aware because we've been attacked as well. We helped them recover. We tracked down the goblins and the ogre. We finished off the last of the goblins as far as we know. We leveled up a couple of times in there. We discovered that we are a thing called a Horizon Walker. We still don't really know what that means. And then we just defeated a Displacer Beast. So we are we're starting to cut down the hide of this Displacer Beast creature and cut the sinews and the tendons and things and the fascia that is holding it to the muscle, and just trying to skin as best we can. It's quite hot because you're sticking your hand inside of a hot-blooded animal like moments after it's dead. So it's quite painful on the hands at times. Maybe you want to let it cool down a little. But it takes about an hour or so for us to get a decent way through the torso area of it. It's got 6 different legs and 2 tentacles, and a tail. So there's lots of appendages for us to try and like deglove. So it's taking a long time. We're most of the way through the body by the time Mel would have gotten to. Actually, it'll probably be about 2 hours because she's got to get there and back again with some help. So about 2 hours passes in this forest. It's getting relatively late in the day, and we've finally gotten the majority of the way through it now. We've got maybe 20 minutes left before we can get the last of the tail off and stuff like that. And that's about the time when we hear some noises coming through the trees, some footsteps arriving, and we hear them being led by as a massive potbelly pig-sized bee comes buzzing along through the path, leading the way. And there are three elves following along. How much in gold for that area map again? Just asking for when we go shopping the next time. You're gonna buy a map from them. I don't know if anybody in this town has an area map. Cat Foxy, thank you for the Prime subscription. 4 months. Prestidigitation. So they arrive. Mel arrives and says to us in Sylvan, the language of beasts and fae. She says, good, you are still safe. I was a little bit concerned that I'd been gone for too long, but I managed to find our way back again. You've done a good job cutting it off, I see. I've managed to get some help to help carry it. And they arrive and speak in Elvish to each other for a sentence or two before saying to you, you don't actually recognize any of the three. Well, you do recognize one of them as one of the guys who approached you right before the funeral and said, "You're Apis, right? There's a funeral happening." But other than that, they haven't really spoken to you too much. They've been a little bit standoffish. They haven't given you any reason to think that they've been outwardly hostile to you, but they're not. They've not been as friendly towards you as the other members of the town. So without speaking to you at all, 2 of them just head over and start they get a hunting knife out of their belt and they start to butcher the meat off, and they've brought satchels on either side that are lined with sort of waterproof lining, and they start to put the meat into these bags. The third one though walks over to you onto your side of the beast and says, "It must have been tough to fight a I'm sorry, I don't know the word in the common for this Llentrafoska. And you say, we call it a displacer beast. And he says, displacer beast. Well, they are difficult animals to kill. So you are good with your arrow, I see. Well, I try. And you think back to just a couple of hours before when you suddenly learned some new feature that when you loose your arrow, you can send it through other planes of existence, and it gathers some of that magical force energy from the creation of the universe, which then suddenly pops back into this plane of existence and creates extra damage. And so yes, you could say that yes, you are very good with your bow and arrow. You say yes, I'm very good with the bow. And then you ask him, do you speak Sylvan in Sylvan? And he says, oh, oui, I speak a little Sylvan, a little more than I do with my common anyway. I haven't practiced in a while. He said, oh, well, I'm happy to speak to you in that. And so you explain just to him, just in general chit-chat, for the next 10 minutes, just a rough gist of what happened during the fight. And I'm going to make an insight check on our behalf. So that is a skill insight. 19. With a 19, we pick up on, over the 10 minutes of talking to this guy, we pick up on the fact that he was a little standoffish towards us at the first. A little bit. We think that perhaps he didn't quite believe that we took this thing down ourselves. But then as we talk to him, we're charismatic enough that we kind of win him over a little, and we learn that he's probably okay with us now. Like he's like, okay, this one's, yeah, he's a dwarf, but he's one of the good ones, kind of thing. That's probably some of what he's thinking about us. And so we after about 10 minutes, we just go to silent and continue to work in silence. As we finish harvesting the skin off of it, the three of them have pretty much finished harvesting most of the meat, the flesh from the bones. And then another 20 minutes goes by as they finish harvesting the organs as well. And then after that, the 6 satchels that they've got between the three of them have got are quite stuffed to fill with organs and flesh. They also take any soft organs from the face as well, the displacers, eyes and things like that. They're like a waste nothing of the animal kind of people. And I think displacer bones, I'm not sure that they would have any use for, so they would probably not having the manpower to carry too many of them. They'll scatter the bones to the forest, because it'll help the animals of the forest to continue to survive, and in doing so, it's still using every part of the animal in that sense. And so you walk in silence with those guys for about an hour back towards the village of Dolben Iluwath. So by the time you get there, it's just gotten to evening, just gotten to sort of twilight, kind of sundown time. Having a displacer bone flute, which is always off half a tone. Yeah, that would be pretty funny. Yeah, it's just always half an octave lower than you expect it to be for some reason. So unless you guys, if any of the Minds of Apis wanted to keep a bone for whatever reason. you'd be welcome to do so. Carve yourself some new panpipes if you wanted to. Yeah, you've got some very perfectly workable panpipes made of wood. But if you wanted some bone ones made out of Displacer Beast, you could definitely find some of the longer bones. We'll say that Apis takes a bone or two, just for trophy sake, and then you head back to the village of Dolben Ilawad. What do you want to do once you get there? What do you guys feel about the bone? About the situation? The three elves immediately just go to the butcher's place and leave you to your own devices. Let me open up which one is it? I've got so many different Twitch tales. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. What do you guys want to do? We and Mel are both still hurt. Yes. And I believe we've used all of our. Yeah, because we used that last one. We used Zephyr Strike twice and Hunt and Cure Wounds once. So we've used all of our spell slots for the day. So we need to rest. Yeah, we need to talk to the what's his name? Delwar, the apothecary, to talk about the healing potion and salves and things. It should both be ready by now. The healing potion was ready yesterday. The healing salve will be ready today, he said, this evening. And he said that he would give us a heavy discount. Get Mel and ourselves off to the potion dude. Yep. Get the healing potion. Maybe he'll fix us up for free once he sees how poorly wounded we are. My potions are too strong for you, traveller. Rest in safety. Get onto the road to the Honey Brew. Honey Brew? Can we trade the bones? It seems like they didn't consider them worth anything. So, yeah, you can trade anything if you find someone willing to buy it. But it's a matter of carrying them around with us. It's not a video game. We don't have an infinite inventory where we can just pull a shovel out of nowhere. So carrying those bones would encumber us somewhat. Correct. We didn't go to our bank yet to get the money for the potions. Rest up before we head off. Thinks that stay the night and get on the road to the goblin camp and send a note to the apiary. The meat honey thingy. Short honey brew. Mead honey thingy. Oh, the Jack Creed's farm is what you're talking about. Toria. Alright. Okay, so pretty good consensus. We go to Delwar, the apothecary, and we explain everything that we've just been through. We went hunting, we found a displacer beast, we took it down, and we learned a couple more cool things that we can do as well. And he says, basically he says that he's very impressed that we can take down a displacer beast on our own. He said that the displacer beast has been in the area for many years now. It comes and goes with the seasons. It never really comes close to the edge of the town because of Hundral and the militia here. But perhaps it somehow knew that the goblins might have weakened us, and so the displaced beast had perhaps been coming a little closer to sort of test out the waters. And so it's interesting that you managed to take it down on your own. You must be a very powerful warrior, all of this stuff. And he says that he is so impressed that you've not only taken down a displacer beast, but also by doing so somewhat protected the town, that he's happy to give you a healing potion and a salve for free. So we will add in to our inventory potions. Let's have a look. I think I've got a healing potion somewhere. Where is it? Antitoxin, nope. Potions, healing potion. There we go. I've got a healing potion. It's a little smaller than that, so there we go. Got a healing potion now for free. I don't have any healing salve, I don't think. Let's have a look. I need to make one of them, don't I? I can put a little antitoxin maybe for now. I can use that as the healing salve, I guess. I think that might be it. Yeah, I don't have any salve yet, but there we go. Yeah, impressed with our work. Thankful for what we've done. The extra meat will help see them through the next couple of weeks, and we've protected their village from a malicious predator that has been haranguing them for a few years. And so they're happy. He's happy to give us a potion and a balm for free. Functionally, what's the deal with the potion? So, a healing potion, as an action, you can drink the healing potion carefully, and you just maximize the healing from it, which is 2d4 plus 2. Maximized 2d4 plus 2 is just 10 hit points. So as an action, we can heal 10 hit points by drinking the healing potion. As a bonus action, we can chug it back quickly and still have an action to do something else on our turn. But then we roll the damage. We roll the hit points instead. We still could potentially get 2d4 plus 2. We maximized, but we could also get a minimum of 4. We would get somewhere between 4 and 10 hit points recovered. As an action, we can administer the healing potion to somebody else. In which case, again, it's a roll, because you're trying to chuck it into somebody else's mouth. You can't be quite as careful with it. So if somebody's unconscious or what have you, you can administer a healing potion as an action, at which point they regain 2d4 plus 2. The salve is not immediate healing, but it's more for pain and long time recovery. So if you suffer lingering injuries from a fight, like broken bones or missing limbs and stuff, those things can be recovered over time. Missing limbs obviously will require regeneration abilities, but broken bones and such, internal organ injuries, things like that, they can be rested to recover, and the salve will help cut down on the time needed for that. All right, so we have spoken to Delwa. We've gotten the things that we were offered for free, and what do we want to do now? What is the plan of attack? We do need to rest, yes. Pub and sleep sounds like a good plan. We don't need to go to the riverbank, thinking either back to Shadridge or off to the portal. Yeah, maybe. We haven't rested yet. Can we can just send a message to Shadridge? Yeah, we could ask somebody to take a message to Shadridge on our behalf. It would take about 8 hours from here to get to Shadridge. Just grind up some silver coins so we have powder for our new spell. Yeah, we could do. We don't really know anything about that spell yet. Ask the elves if they know who could turn our new pelt into a cloak for us. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we can do that. We should go to the goblin camp. Might be time critical. There's lots of discussion about what to do. We do need rest. We are hurt. So is Mel. Pub and rest. I think a lot of people are saying basically the same thing, that we need to rest first before anything else. We can choose what to do in what order once we are feeling better. So we spend the rest of this evening eating and just chilling with people. We ask while we're there. We ask anyone who happens to be around us as we eat up some displacer meat. We ask around, like, hey, this displacer cloak has got some really cool. It's like really cool. I think it would make a really nice cloak. It's kind of weird and might actually help, to maybe harder to hit maybe if I wear something like this. Do you know anyone who can do this? And we are told that Helwrin, the original village that we saw, the original elven village, they each of the 4 sister villages has a purpose. They are not exactly standalone villages so much as they are outposts of a larger community. Each of them has a purpose. Helwrin is the hunters and the leather workers and the people that work with animals. They provide the meat. They provide the meat and the leather and the skins. They provide the gelatin that's needed in a bunch of the salves as well because it comes from animal parts. They generally are much better with that kind of thing. The people of Dolben Iluwad, they are the prim cultivators. They're also the farmers. So they grow fruit and veg. They also forage for fruit and veg out in the forest much more than they grow it. And they cultivate the primflowers. They provide the potions and the healing and the medicine for the group. Munglofau is the drow village that are the miners. They have the superior dark vision and they are very good underground. They have a much more connected nature to the ground and the rocks and gemstones and things than they do to trees and plants, and so they are much better underground as miners. They mine for minerals and materials that is needed for building materials and for trading with outside villages, that sort of stuff. And finally, Orochel. Orochel is kind of the leaders of the four groups. They are the diviners and the soothsayers and the fortune tellers. They're the ones who see kind of the direction that this community should go. They are responsible for protecting the villages, which is why Verin was so angry at Lothgriki about why were you not here sooner to protect us? That's kind of your one job. So they are meant to protect the villages. They've got the largest army of the four towns, and they are the ones that are meant to offer spiritual guidance and stuff and such like that. And yes, the drow are also the smiths of the four towns. So this is kind of explained to you in the night while you're spending time with people, and they say that for that reason, obviously Helwerin's probably your best bet to get anyone here that can do any sort of leatherworking or tanning of this hide. But if you wanted to go outside of the village, then they wouldn't really know. They don't know where towns outside of this are other than Shadridge. They know of Shadridge. Shadridge they have some what's the word? They have some economic kind of parlay. I can't remember. I can't think of words. They have an agreement with Shadridge that they sometimes trade goods and whatnot. But they're not too aware of anyone else who can do it. A trade agreement, yeah. They're not really too aware of anybody else who could tan hide. They'd basically just say you need to find a leather worker. Verin thinks that someone might have helped the goblins. Yep, Verin mentioned that goblins don't usually attack in quite as strategic manner as these goblins have. They are. Verin is worried that perhaps they were trained by someone for some other purpose. But he doesn't really have anything to go on other than his gut feeling, so it could be nothing. You were also told that there was a potential reward for goblin hunting back in Shadridge when you set off from Shadridge. How long ago was that? Let's have a look. Where's my timeline? You set off from Shadridge on the 13th of Eulabris, and it is now, I think, the 19th of Eulabris. Yes, it's now the 19th of Eulabris. You've been gone for 6 days since you said that you would go and deal with the goblins and come back. needed to go to Helwerin anyway to identify the cloak and the key. Yep, because they've got Talila there, who is really good with arcane things. She's the one who identified our potion in the first place. So anyway, we speak to them about this, and we decide that, all right, we're tired now. We gotta rest. Got to heal up a bit. Delwar does give us a little bit of, like, uses some of his salve on us just to help with the healing of certain injuries, so that we don't have less lingering or lasting injuries. Generally speaking, I give people lingering injuries if you fail death saving throws. That's when lingering injuries come into it. Or if you take a particularly large amount of damage, like a critical hit, it can often lead to a lingering injury as well. So we don't have any lingering injuries, we'll say, because Delwar managed to use some of that ability on us, and then we head to the meditative hall that we've been using to sleep in, and we go to sleep and we have a long rest. While we are resting, while we are sleeping, there is a spell that theoretically we should have access to, but thematically we don't actually know about yet. So let me look it up real quick and tell you about what it can do. It's called Protection from Evil and Good. Technically it's a spell that we have access to, but we don't know how to cast it yet because we don't know anything about it. We've not heard about it. It's a first level spell, range of touch, and it requires holy water or powdered silver and iron, which the spell consumes. So you need that actual item, either holy water or powdered silver and iron. Once you cast it, it lasts up to 10 minutes until you drop your concentration. And until the spell ends, one willing creature you touch is protected against certain types of creatures: aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. This protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those types have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, or against the target. The target can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them. If a target is already charmed, frightened, or possessed by such a creature, they have advantage on any new saving throw against the relevant effect. So that would be useful to know. So as you sleep, you lie down on one of these meditative cots, and you think about how you used a new feature at the end of the last session as well. You used a new feature as you killed this displacer beast, because you saw this little shit disappear in a puff of green smoke, and then the green smoke kind of lingered, and then you thought about how you're going to need to go to the Feywild at some point if you're going to talk to this Diggin fella that you apparently have some sort of deal with. And you're not sure how to get to the Feywild, but you see this guy disappear, presumably into the Feywild, leaving behind this green smoke. And suddenly, you leave your own body. This out-of-body experience zooms through the trees, and you see yourself back in this clearing, not too far from here, where you see a babbling brook and a rock that's kind of almost armchair shaped, but with nice thick layer of moss on it, so it made for a nice area to sit and relax for a while once. And while you were sitting and relaxing, you saw this green wispy smoke as well, just hovering in space, and suddenly you realised that must be a portal to the Feywild of some sort. And you think about this now as you're resting there, and then you feel yourself walking towards it and stepping into it, and then you feel creatures around you. You feel the presence of other animals and beasts, and they start to approach you with malicious intent, and you step back away from them. You're just in this sort of this lime green kind of space, surrounded by these creatures that come out of the mist and then dissipate again. These creatures with small horns on their heads, and squirrels that are different colours, and bats and owls that have got unique kind of facial features that you don't see on this plane. Things that are recognizable but subtly different. Things that are in that uncanny valley, that are peculiar and intimidating. You feel them charming you, you feel them attacking, but you don't feel their claws or their teeth in your skin. They have the intent of an attack without actually getting to you. You realize that you're just conjuring these creatures in your own mind out of your own fear of them, and that you don't actually remember them. This doesn't feel like a memory. This feels like imagination. This feels like you are coming up with these creatures out of your own fear of the unknown. And you worry about whether there's some way that they can hurt you that you don't even know about. You've been a hunter, you've been a solo hunter for most of your life. You know how to handle yourself in a forest. You know what it's like to have a tangible threat from a beast or a high fall. You know the threats of the forest. You know a raging river can sweep you under. You know a steep fall down a cliffside can leave you broken at the bottom. You know the dangers that you face in this world. But from the stories you've heard about the Fae, you don't even know what you don't know about the Feywild. And it worries you. And you realise that your active imagination is conjuring these critters and these creatures that are coming to you and attacking. And you try and push them back. And there is an unfamiliar voice appears in your mind that says, "I know you're afraid, but there are methods of protection. You need only find them." This one, you know, is not your imagination. There's something about it that is intimidating beyond belief. It feels like, once again, you're being spoken to by a god. You don't know which god. It didn't sound familiar to the ones that you've heard already in the last few days. There is something about you that is different. There is something about you that is enticing these all-powerful divine beings from an entirely different plane of existence to start speaking to you. And it's humbling, to say the least. But you know that there are protections out there from such creatures, and you need only seek them out. You need only find them. There is perhaps research to be done to find out how to protect yourself from these creatures. You drift off to sleep, and you have this uneasy sort of tossing and turning throughout the night. But ultimately you get a long rest. You have your hit points back, you have your spell slots back. You have what else do you lose on a long rest? You have pretty much everything back. I don't think there's anything that doesn't come back on a long rest for you. So, the next day, the beginning of the 20th of Eulabris. What do you want to do? It has now been... This is the morning of the 7th day since you left Shudridge. It's been how many days since the 3 days since you harvested the Prin? For 5 days. 5 days since you left Helwyrn. Send a message to Shadridge, god damn it. Breakfast. So you have breakfast, easy enough. The breakfast is provided. Wow, fancy that guy. Goblin camp or Helwyn and a message. Seems like the two options that most people are talking about are either go to Helwyn or go to the Goblin camp. Which one are we going to do? Because they're not on the way. One is not on the way to the other, so we have to choose. We have breakfast, easy enough, but I'm talking more long-term plan than that. We do not know yet that we need powdered silver and iron yet. We don't. We need to talk to somebody about this protection that can apparently protect us from fey creatures. We do know. It wouldn't be metagaming for us to know that fey creatures generally do not like iron. We are very well versed in fey creatures. We grew up with fairy stories, telling them and hearing them, reading them. And so we know that most fey creatures have an aversion to iron. But we don't know that we don't know the spell yet, as it were. We're still in Dolben Iluad, yes. Stop in Helwyn to drop off the pelt to get tanned, while we then go to Goblin Camp for proof of beating them up, because currently we've got no proof. Even if we did go back to Shadridge, we've got no proof that we've actually dealt with the goblins. Then go back to Shadridge. We don't know if we can open the portal yet. Not experienced using force. Eager to see Saithan and Talila again. Most people seem... Yeah, Shadridge via whichever's on the way. Helwyn would be on the way back to Shadridge. Alright, the majority of people, by the looks of it, are saying Helwyn before Goblin Camp. So we will do that. So we finally decide that we've had enough of this village. We've done all that we need to do here. They can handle themselves. We helped them hunt. We've got some. We've helped them very successfully with the harvesting of the flowers. They can handle themselves from here. So we thank them very much for their hospitality. And Kaelin thanks us for all that we've done here. And we will see them again at some point in the some point in the future, I'm sure. She thanks us for what we've done and reiterates the welcome that she gave us a few days ago. That for all we've done here, we will always be welcome to come back to Dolben Iluad whenever needed. And then we head out towards Helwyn to find our way back. Takes us about 2 hours or so. Takes about 2 hours or so to get back to Helwyn, and we approach as, let's see, what time would it be? It'd be mid-morning now. Eat, say goodbye. Yeah, mid-morning to get back to Helwyn. And as we arrive, we can just see that it's quite lively. There's about a dozen people or so milling around, and most of them are doing work still. They're still doing building construction on the buildings that were destroyed. The main silo-like pantry area, effectively, where they keep the food, that has been finished now. They've finished the construction on that. We don't see Roden about, but he probably is one of the people that are milling around. You don't, like, as you get closer, you can start to make out the ones that you recognize and the ones that you don't. You don't see. Let's see. Actually, let me roll to see if Verin's around. Mid-morning. He probably hasn't gone out hunting yet. Mid-morning. What would he do? Let's go with a percentile. What chance is he around? He is not around. We don't see him on the way into the village, at least. This part of Apus's mind has a crush on Verin. Can we see if Verin will come with us to the Goblin Camp? We could use his help, and if everything else fails, we can help him hunt on the way back to Helwyn. Verin already left for his village before we went hunting. Yes, but this is his village. Verin is from Helwyn, not from Dolben Iluad. So we already left. We are now back at where he is, where Verin is from. So we walk into town. We see Sathan, who is sort of directing this team of about 8 people, pushing on the front of a building that has now been reconstructed properly out of wood, while another 4 or so have got the rope looped up and over the top of the building, and they're pulling it up like an Amish barn. And as she's directing, more on that side, and she's speaking in Elvish, but you're picking up the odd word of it that you're starting to pick up on from your Sylvan, and the very small amount that you've put into learning Elvish. You pick up on the odd word as she's directing, and then it goes up, and then a couple of them sort of move off to the side and start putting up ladders to just start hammering in the wood to keep it in place. You walk over and she sort of double takes and sees you coming. Apis, it's good to see you back again. I didn't expect you. Verin said that you might be staying in Dolben Ilawad for another few days, but it's good to see you. Are you well? Are you doing all right? How is the town? Verin told me about it last night. He sort of gave me the lowdown. I'm well, thank you very much, Sathan. Just they're doing fine. Like I helped them with Displacer Beast last night. I was attacked, and you give them the lowdown. She's like, oh, she's very surprised and says, oh yes, I remember the beast. About 10 years ago or so, it was down this area of the woods. And then we scared it away. It managed to get away from us, though. They're very intelligent beasts, very, very manipulative, very malicious. They are hunters that will kill for sport. They enjoy the pain of their prey, and so if they start to lose the fight, they often turn tail and run. And so we scared it off, but weren't able to kill it. So it's good that you managed to take it down, if indeed it's the same one. And so you fill her in on what happened, how that went, and all that you've done with the print flowers and things. You speak to her for about 15 minutes or so, and then you say, also, whereabouts can I get the hide tanned? And you open up your satchel bag. Maybe you were given one of those waterproof satchels just to hold it in, because it was obviously, you dried it out overnight while you were in Dolben Ilawad, but you were given one of those satchel bags to bring it in, and it's all folded up as best it can, and you take it out and show it off, and she's like, oh, that's very interesting indeed. I'm sure they'd be able to do that, tan that for you over at, bear with me, what is the name of the leatherworker here? That's Dolben Ilawad, Helwarin, here we are. Eldar. Oh, that's very fascinating. You really did do a number on it, didn't you? I can see where your arrows have hit it. Yes, absolutely. Eldar will be able to tan that for you. He'll be more than happy to. I'll come with you. He doesn't speak very well with common. Just word of warning, there's a few more people been speaking with Roden and others, and they're still not quite happy that you were returning after Verin said that you would be coming back. But if anybody gives you a hard time, just let me know. I've had a word with them. And so she leads you down the center of town, to the building out front of which is a drying rack for various different hides and things. And she sort of knocks on the open door and walks in and speaks with this gentleman in Elvish, the guy you've met before briefly outside of his shop. And she says back and forth in Elvish, and then she says in common, Displacer Beast, here, Apis, could I have the the thing, please? I'll hand it over. And you hand over the Displacer Beast to pelt, and his eyes go wide. And then he says something else to her in Elvish, and she places it on the desk, and he starts to check it out like real close, and he's looking at all the areas where the arrows hit it, and the stinger from Mel's sting, and all sorts of damage that you did to it. And then eventually he says he sort of nods and speaks to her in Elvish, and she says yes. He says that he'll be able to make this work. There's quite a lot of damage to it as you harvested it, perhaps when you were killing it, I'm not sure, but he'll be able to make it work, he thinks. It'll probably take a couple of days to tan it properly, and then once it's tanned to make sure that it's turned into a cloak. But he can do that for us, and I'll have him do it for on my behalf. Did you harvest anything else from it? And you explain that we harvested the rest of the meat and stuff, but they took all of the organs up in Dolben Illuad. Just while I'm here, is he able to identify this other cloak I've got? I checked. I found this in the goblin camp the other day, and apparently it's got some sort of magical qualities. Does he know about magic? And she turns around and relays this in Elvish, and he holds his hand out, and she takes it from you, hands it over to him. I'm gonna roll an Arcana check on his part to see, because he does know about cloth and cloaks, but he doesn't necessarily know too much about the magic that's imbued within it. Average though, not too bad. He says something in Elvish in like a dismissive kind of facial expression, and she turns and says, "No." He says that it's likely illusion magic, but he's not sure exactly why, what it does. You'd be better talking to Talila, and she's around somewhere. I can take you to her next if you like. At one point, at which point the door. Try that again. At which point, somebody arrives at the door, an elf that you don't recognise, and speaks to her through the doorway in Elvish. And she turns and and then he turns around and leaves, and she says, I'll tell you where Talila is, but I actually have to go soon myself. I've got to supervise something that's happening. She turns and talks to Eldar about the cloak, finishes off like, confirm, start working on that, blah blah blah, and then she turns and pulls you to the door and says, Talila's down there, this way, that way, blah blah blah, and that's her building just down there. And then she leaves and leaves you to your own devices. So we can't make 2 items from the pelt. It depends what you wanted making from the pelt. Oak leaf. Turn it into a whip or something. No, the pelt was damaged enough that it will barely make the displacer cloak. And if he's gonna start working on tanning that for us. It'll take at least 2 days for it to be tanned and then turned into a cloak. And then there's no guarantee that it like works as a displacer cloak at that point. It might just be a nice cloak. You might have to go to somebody who's better with actual magic and turn it into a magic item at that point. Talila might know something about pixie fart portals. Yeah. Talila is the one who doesn't speak very much common. No, she speaks more than Eldar, but she's not fluent. So Seidan takes off to go do her duties as the spiritual elder of the town. She needs to supervise a lot of the rebuild that's happening. But we follow the path through town. It's a forest town, so the floor is the path is made of mostly compact dirt, wood wood chippings covering. There's stone bricks that are lining the path through the center of town. Nice. Words are escaping me today. Not doing very good with my words. What is the word I'm trying to find? It's not coming. So you step out of the tanner's shop as Sathan's leaving towards the west of town to deal with some of her duties. You walk on the cranial flatulence. You walk on the wooden back that lines the center of town, the path through town. There's nice little flower gardens in each of the front doorways to each of the buildings, most of which are dual purpose residential and commercial. So the Eldar probably lives out the back of his weaver's hut. Talila probably lives out the back of her alchemist hut, and so on. You walk through town, sort of nodding jovially to people. You see Rodan at one point outside the front of his hut, his chalet, that is quite nice carpentry work, being that is his trade, his profession, and so he's working on a wooden piece, he's making wooden nails, effectively wooden doweling, for the building work, and he sees you and sort of just scowls and looks back down to continue his work as you pass. You follow the directions you were given to the other edge of the town, where you start to smell some more pungent smells. As you walk through towards this village, as you walk through the gate into this garden and approach the hut in this part of town, you can see that this is a very, very overrun garden that kind of looks at first glance like it's just not been looked after, but then you realize quite the opposite. It has been so heavily tended that it's just every inch of it is being utilized. There are plots where there are herbs growing, and there are plots where there are spices and roots, and there's a fruit tree over in the corner. There is a berry bush and vines growing up the side of one wall. There's just things everywhere, flowers of various different coloured petals. And in this garden, you see almost tucked away, as if hiding, the head and shoulders of a young elf. And as you walk up the garden path, you see that she's busying herself with a trowel in the garden, fixing up something or planting something, and you try not to startle her as you say, "Hello there, Talila," and she startles anyway. All the same, and turns around, complete world of her own. And hello, Apis, yes, hey, that's right. How you going? I'm good. Please, I have flowers on my hands. But I will come inside with you. And she sort of walks to the front and she takes off some rubber gloves that she was wearing, drops the trowel next to her, and then walks up the garden path towards the front door. You're not breaking off on my account, are you? Huh? You're I don't want to distract from what you were doing. Distract? I don't want to interrupt. Never mind. Are you busy? Busy? Oh, no. Inside? She gestures to go inside. And you follow her into her. You follow her up the front steps onto her wooden porch, and from there inside through the wooden doors. It's a very nice building that's got two. You're in an entrance corridor. There are two rooms off of the corridor to your right, There's one off to your left and a staircase, and then one down the far end of the corridor as well. You can see that the one down the far end of the corridor has the door open, and you can tell that it's a kitchen. And she walks out. They have latex trees in Rob's world. They have rubber trees. It's not hard to get rubber. She takes you into the waves you in and opens up the door to the first of the two rooms off on the right of the corridor, and you can see that there's like a sitting room in there. And as you walk in, you can see that both of the doors to this room, both of the doors on the right of the corridor actually enter into the same room. It's quite a long sitting room. She's got nice furniture in front of her hearth, and the hearth isn't on at the moment, but she gestures to the seat and then says, I will drink you for I will drink for you, and thank you, it's very nice. And you go and sit down, and she walks through into the kitchen. You hear her clattering about for a bit, and then she comes back in with a jug of water, with some fruit and slices of fruit inside of it, and then little clay cups. She sets it down on a table and starts to pour them for you, and hands you one of the cups. I wanted to ask you about this, and you get out the cloak. You're good with magic, right? Magic? And she says, yes. You're good with magic? Yes. I'm good with magic. So she said, do you know what this is? It's got magic in it. I've heard. She looks at it, and she's going to make an Arcana check. This is a cloak a cloak that can it changes color for when you, and she swirls it round and clasps it up on and she says Buruska, and then as she says this, the cloaks from the shoulders downwards just starts to like somebody's just poured paint down. It just completely changes to a deep blue navy kind of colour, all the way down. And then she says Roshka, and then it changes to a very, very dark red to the point of almost black, but it just shimmers in as she turns. You can see that it looks like velvet, that's a really very, very dark red. And then she says, let's see, what else can she do with it? Apparent quality. She says, Dunskarak. And then as she says this, it seems to like get tattered and frayed at the edges. And it shortens by about 3 feet. And it just looks like a shitty traveller's shawl that's been used for many... Witch, burn her! So basically, while wearing this cloak, you can use a bonus action to change the style, the colour, and the apparent quality of the garment. The cloak's weight doesn't change. Regardless of its appearance, the cloak can't be anything but a cloak. It can duplicate the appearance of other magical cloaks. It doesn't gain their magical properties. So as she tries out a few different things, and then she gets up and she starts to get into it, and she's starting to put on like a fashion show for you, coming up with more new creative ways. She says something, and there's like two areas across the shoulders appear, and then tassels come down from it, and then these like golden tassels blend in with the golden trim down the sides of it as it grows back to its full length, and she starts to like swish it from side to side, and then she turns it into silk, and it just becomes this like pure white silk, real thin. This gown almost. She continues doing this a few more times, and then she says, "So it make for itself for the good color that you want." And then she unclasps it, unhooks it. As she takes it off, it turns itself back into its regular form that you saw it. And then she hands it over to you. and she says, "You do," and you place it on. What do you guys think Apis would try out first? How are they going to try it out? Like an octopus color changing or a sneaky ghillie version. Does it help in hiding? Yeah, you could turn it into a ghillie suit of sort, or camouflage. Camouflage. A lot of people, Apis's mind's going to the same place, it seems. So you clasp it on and you think about camouflage, and sure enough, in a very similar way to how you saw Verin when you first met Verin, aside from having the dirt on the face and the twigs in the hair, the clothing that he was wearing kind of becomes the same for you. You've got a cloak that turns itself into deep greens in patches of various different camouflage-esque pattern. And then you say you think about the pattern of a bee, black and yellow stripes, and you say bee, and it turns itself into a fuzzy kind of texture like felt, and it's striped with black and yellow stripes all the way down it. Very much imitates a bee. You think, that's cool. You think about invisible, and it turns into this see-through kind of gossamer, this cape, but it doesn't change anything for on our person. You can kind of see through the cloak a little bit, but you can tell that it's there. Blue with yellow letters. Put your ad here. It's a golf sale. Yeah. So it cannot imitate. It can imitate that of other cloaks. So, for instance, it can look like a cloak of invisibility, but it won't give us the item. It won't actually give us the magical effect of that. It gets invisible when we look naked. Red. It just goes blood red, deep blood red all the way down. It's crimson. Can it billow? You think about it billowing, and no, it doesn't affect it. Kai wants yellow. It turns into this beautiful sort of very ripe banana texture and color of this cloak as it goes down your back, and it's got these thin brownish stripes down the center, just off of center. Lame cloak is lame. Imitate a rock. Is it big enough to cover us if we kneel down? Yeah, we kneel down, and let's have a look. What length is it? Does it say? It doesn't say. So yeah, I'd say it's down with us being a dwarf. It's pretty easy for us to hide underneath it. So we crouch down and we go into sort of a back up fetal position. Cover the cloak over the top of us and think about a rock. And we can't tell, but there's a little squeal of what's gonna you are like stone. And you sort of chuckle and stand back up again, and you look at the outside of the thing, and yeah, it's a really textured greyish stony kind of texture to it. Can you make like a face on it? You think whose face would Apis put on it, FBGX? I say we go make Mel happy, show the striped version. Yeah, you can do. Displace a cloak, try out the look. Yeah, you think about turning this new cloak of yours in a few days into a displacer cloak and what that might look like, and then you say this out loud: displacer cloak, and it turns itself into this deep, almost inky blue cloak that goes across the shoulders and then down the back. And then these two patches start to grow from it that resemble the very rubbery textured tentacles, and they grow down your front and end in these like spiked pads. And you think, oh, this is probably what it would look like. And it doesn't shimmer. It doesn't shimmer in the light and displace your appearance at all. But it looks like a displacer cloak. Mel's face. You think about Mel, and it turns into this simple the displacer tentacles retract back into the thing, and it turns into just this very simple grey cloak, that's just a simple rectangle of grey material, but in the centre is just quite a decent picture of Mel. It's not exactly a photo, it's not a painting, but it's a decent enough that you can recognise it as Mel. We're not childish at all. This reminds me of skipping stones for a day. Hey man, it's all part of D&D. If we hunch down, can it make me look like a large frog or something? So you hunch back down again in the same sort of rock position, this fetal position, and you think about a frog, and then she goes, what is this? Like green rock? And you think, oh, I don't think she's getting it, and then you get back up and you look, and it's got this toad-like skin texture to it, but it doesn't give you the legs and the arms and the head of a toad. It just gives you like a greenish toad-like skin, and so it didn't exactly look like a frog. A royal guard cloak in the area. So you know, Viantha, you would know that there are town guards known as the Knights of Kivosna. And Knights of Kivosna they do wear cloaks that signify their rank. So they start with a red cloak to signify that they're a badger. And then once they are promoted to Wolverine, they get a blue cloak. Then they are promoted to Lion when they get a silver cloak. And then, yeah, that's as high up the ranks as you've ever seen. There are also white-cloaked and black-cloaked Knights of Kivosnas that are more administrative, not field knights. Displacer pelt will have another effect. This one's for sneaking. The displacer will blur as in the fight. Yes, correct. But you can only wear one cloak at a time. You can only benefit from one cloak at a time. Put a large-looking thing on it, like an eye, like a butterfly. Yeah, you think about a butterfly wing, and it becomes this sort of iridescent, beautifully shimmering, almost... what's that material that I'm trying to think of? It's satin. It becomes this almost satin finish to the cloak, and has this very peacock-like eye in the centre of it that's made out of these beautiful purples and blues. And this like deep green around the outside of it. I'll catch what I can. What does the cloak do again? If you haven't picked it up by now, Taufe, you must have just joined us, because for the last 10 minutes I've been describing this cloak changing multiple colours and multiple fashions. I missed how we figured this out. An elven lady called Talila, who is proficient in Arcana, she identified it on our behalf. Can we give her a shovel? Can we make it pink? Yeah, it becomes this beautiful hot, actually not that beautiful, this eyesore hot pink, this vibrant hot pink cloak that stretches all the way down to the floor. And on the inside it's got this light bubblegum pink as well. Talila, not tequila. Can't look like a frog. Throw the whole thing away. It takes on textures, but not the actual appearance. No, it takes on colours, textures, styles, quality. So it can look like whatever you want it to, but it has to still remain as a cloak. So Wraith, you Apis starts to think about, I wonder if it can look like armour. And you think about armour, and it kind of takes on this metallic sheen to it, but it still looks like a cloak at the back. It looks like the sort of cloak one would wear when doing a jousting competition in full armour. It would be the cloak that you would attach to the top of your armour, but it doesn't look anything like armour. Seeing this handy for stealth and persuasion rolls. Yep, it could be good for stealth, it could be good for pretending to be other people. Can it reflect what is behind us? So like... Oh, wait, what? Reflect what is behind... Like a mirror? Like it turns into a mirror? But then you'd have to take it off to look at what's... I don't understand what you mean, Fancy. Turquoise dragonfly wings, yeah, we try that. You hand it back to to Talila, and she tries on a few more as well. Back and forth, back and forth. You spend a good like half hour just like enjoying yourself with Talila, talking about what's this, coming up with different things that this cloak can do, and apparently it's got no limitation to it, like in terms of how often it can be used. Replicate a look but not the effect. Yes. We need a key and possibly variant. So as we are finishing this, we try and come up with a mirrored effect to it, and again it takes on a very highly polished silver sort of look to it, but it's like a mirror made out of fabric. It's kind of like you're using, it's kind of like you are using one of those tinfoil like things that you wrap yourself in to keep yourself warm. Kind of looks a bit like that. Doesn't really feel that same sort of texture to it, but it's much more like silken than that. So you can kind of see like rough shades of movement in this mirror, but it's not smooth enough to be a mirror. If we're sneaking up on things, we can use it as a ghillie suit to imitate bushes, grasses and stuff. Yeah. Well, it can give us camouflage. It can't imitate a bush per se, but it still has to remain as a cloak. It can just be a camouflage coloured cloak. Got some good loot from the goblin camp. Totally worth almost dying. Well, we've so far gotten a potion of comprehension and a cloak of many fashions is what it's called. So if we're hiding beside a rock and a tree behind us, could it handle that? It wouldn't. Like it might make a crude drawing of that if you wanted it to, or it would just, you'd be better off just being like camouflage of general rock and tree colours, and then it would help with that, I think. Space blanket, I think that's what they're called, yeah. So after about half an hour of chilling and having a good time with Talila, coming up with all these different fashions and things for this cloak of many fashions, we also remember, we also have this key. Can you identify this key? Wow, that was loud. Very high roll though. So she takes this key with fascination and looks at it. The key down here, look, you can see that we've got a little key in our inventory that we took from the goblin camp, and we didn't identify it, but it caught our eye as interesting. She walks over to like a dressing table. No, not a dressing table. A writing desk. And she opens up like one of those smaller drawers on top of the writing desk, and she rummages around through some little things. She gets out like a device that looks like a piece of metal that with quite a sharper point on one end, and it sort of opens out into this sort of round hole on the other end. And she presses it against the key, and then it flicks the end, and it starts to ding. She moves it along a little bit more. Ding. Ding. She turns it over a little bit. She puts it back in. She gets out another little box that's like a silver snuff box almost. She opens it up, and there's like a sponge across it. She takes the key out and presses it into the sponge, and then brings it back out again, and it leaves an impression of the thing, and she closes the box up and shakes it. She opens it up. Yeah, she puts it back in the drawer. She opens up another thing, and she gets out like a small soft leather pouch. She opens up the drawstring and takes out a pinch of some white powder and sprinkles it over the key. And then eventually she, after a few more of these sorts of strange things, and we're kind of like, we've walked over out of curiosity, and we're looking over the shoulder and watching her do this stuff. She spends about 10 minutes with this key, and then she goes, this is key. It is magic. It has no lock. lock. No lock. It has no lock. But if you put it in lock, it might explode. I don't know that word. It might grow. It might grow to be key for that lock. So the key might change itself to be the lock, the key to any lock that you put any lock you put it in. Yes, any lock. It could grow to be key for that lock. Then after it grows to become lock, then poof, no more grow. So it only works once. Yes, works once. So it is a magic item called a mystery key. I amused myself by putting mystery key as like what is this mystery key? It's called mystery key. And let me read you what it does. It is the key has a 5% chance of unlocking any lock into which it's inserted. Once it unlocks something, the key disappears. So basically, there is a 1 in 20 chance of you unlocking it. So if you get to a lock that you really need, any lock at all, you try it, and I roll a d20, and if I get a nat 20, it opens the lock and then disappears. If it doesn't, then it doesn't do anything. You get to try it again, not on the same lock, obviously. Once it's you can't just keep trying the same lock 20 times until it works. So you can if you ever need to unlock something and you don't have the key for it, you can try it on this, and there's a 1 in 20 chance that you unlock it. Otherwise, it doesn't work on that lock ever. A single-use skeleton key and only 5% chance of working. And you can't just keep trying it on the same lock. No, the dice decide. Upon the roll of the dice, that is the world deciding whether this key will fit this lock or not, basically. And once it comes up no, that is the world decided no, it will not work again. Is there anything else we wanted to talk to her about? Do we wear this cloak now that we know what it is? Do we put it on? Do we do we actually wear the cloak? Meant to ask her about Horizon Walker. Okay. We ask Dalila about Horizon Walker. We say, thank you for that. I appreciate it. What was all of this that you were doing? Magic. Right. That reminds me, actually. You. Oh, how am I going to explain this? I recently heard that I am. I have. How am I going to explain this? You take the cloak as you're talking and swip it over yourself and clasp it and think about camo, and it turns into this camouflaged cloak. I'm actually going to move the cloak away because we don't actually need to. That's no longer in our inventory, it's on our person. So there you go. In the same way that we don't have our armor or our footwear down there, it's not something we need to carry in our inventory. So we've got a little space now. I recently heard that I have unique's probably, and she looks a little confused. Yes, I'm not sure I'm going to get through this. Have you heard Horizon Walker? Horizon Walker. Sorry? Never mind. Do you know about the Feywild? Heard about the Feywild? Sorry, sorry. The common is not. Sorry. It's fine. It's fine. I'll talk to Say then. Maybe we can make him. Maybe we can. She can. Thank you. You turn around and you finish your drink. So you say thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to talk to Talila about or ask her about? Horizon Walk is going to be a no-go, it seems. I rolled to see if she understood the basics of what you were trying to get across, and I rolled really poorly. She didn't understand the word Feywild. They obviously call it something different in Elvish. Till would know about the magic, probably. Protection from good and evil. Yeah, we could ask her about that. Yeah, so as we sort of drink the water and we go to leave, we have this recollection of as we were falling asleep last night, a voice told us that we were worried about being attacked, and there are ways to protect ourselves. Oh, one more thing actually. There are creatures. You understand creatures? Yes. There are creatures that are dangerous. Yes. And they come from... Oh, this one. And you think about the Displacer cloak. And the Displacer... And she goes... and you say, you know this animal, Displacer beast. And she says, I know the creature, yes. She says, this comes from where? From the forest? No, before that. Like where did this animal come from? It wasn't from this plane. No, it was from Llentrafroc with Threshi, and yeah, well, wherever that is. That's that in common we say Feywilds, like fairies and sprites and pixies. Oh, yes. And right. So those creatures there, they're dangerous. Yes, sometimes no. Right. Is there a way to protect myself from those? Like you got? Is there a protection? Is there? I might be going to that place soon. Why? It's a long story, but I might be going there, and I'm worried that I don't know what I'm going to be up against. Up against? I don't know what I'm going to be in danger of. Right. Is there a way to protect myself? Yes, there are magic for protection from other places. The other not this place. Aye, so other planes. Yes. There is magic from other planes. Come. And she leads you back out of the drawing room and across the hall into the other room. And she opens she actually gets a key out first and unlocks it, and then opens it up, and oof, you are hit by this pungent smell of just a bunch of different. It kind of reminds you a little of Delwa's shop with this aromatic kind of incense constantly burning and all of the bubbling stuff that he had in there, but it's much more acrid and much more like it smells much more like burning rubber here. There is a bunch of that burning herbs and incense as well, but underneath that is like this tarish kind of sickly smell. And she says, oh, sorry, items of magic, the items of magic need hot, Bernie, I think I understand. I think I'll stay out here. And she says, yes, yes, yes. And she walks in. You hear some clattering and kerfuffle from inside. You can kind of see through the open door that there is clearly like a laboratory set up in that room. She's got a bunch of just junk all over the tables. Every surface in there has junk on it. That's what it smells like when Apis cooks. That's right. Eventually, she comes back out with a book, a big thick tome that's got like papers just like stuffed into it as well. So it's got like all the sides are not even. It looks like pages have been torn out and then restuffed back into the books, and dog-eared and all sorts. Very, very heavily worn book. Looks like it's been rebound a few times as well. She comes back across into the other sitting room and sits back down, and she starts to open it up. And you can see that there's a bunch of writing in there that you do not recognise. It's not even Elvish script. She flips over several pages. There's different languages. You can tell that it starts to use different scripts as well. Like, so it's not even just all written in one language. Eventually, you see a couple of words of common as she quickly flicks past, and then you're seeing splotches of discoloured parts on each of the pages. You're also seeing like drawings and crude like sketches. It almost looks like a mathematical notebook at one point, because there's a few pages that have got like trigonometry seemingly written on it. Eventually, she gets down to a book towards the back, and she pulls out a few of the loose pages and flicks through them slower. Flicks through them one at a time, and then she grabs one and she places it on top of the open book. This would be in a language that you don't recognize, but for some reason you can still read it. It seems to be not like a wall of text. It's more like notes. It's much more like a recipe than it is like a page of text. But the recipe seems to be in like symbols and runes that you for some reason recognize the meanings of, and you can tell that it's symbols of protection. It's symbols of that relate to abjuration and the school of abjuration magic. And that magic is the school of protecting you from elements. You see written across the top in common is protection from, and then there's a bunch of things written underneath it, some of which you recognise, some of which you don't, some of which is crossed out. Oakleaf gifting a sub to Crab of Chaos. Thank you very much. 4 gifts in the channel now. You see it says protection from, and then it says aberrations. You're not sure what that means. Protection from giants, and giants is crossed out. Protection from beasts, and beasts is crossed out. You see protection from fae, and that one's circled. Protection from fiends. Protection from lower planes. Protection from angels, and that one's got a question mark after it. Protection from elements. Protection from goblins, question mark, and that one's circled and then crossed out. Protection from evil, and that one's like underlined twice and then circled. Protection from good, question mark, circle. And so you see that this is a something that she starts to then show you and goes, this is what I mean. You for need against the fae, you say? Fae, aye, fae creatures. It's pixies and sprites. Yeah, fae. This is protect from them. Fae don't like metal. Iron. Fae don't like iron. No, and I actually heard that already in stories and things. Yes, you need iron for this spell to work. It also work with water that has magic, not magic. It has big people live in air. You, I'm gonna make an insight check on your behalf. Actually, I'll roll it on here. Skill insight 14. Big people that live in the air. You look down and you see angels, and you're like, angels, and you point to it, and she says, "Oh, like big angels." Big angels? Big angels boss. Like gods? Gods! Yes, gods. Water from gods. Rain? No! She slaps you on the arm. I know rain. Water from God's magic. Oh, like holy water. I don't know. Holy water, like people who are holy, people that follow a god, and that's sure. Holy water. So this spell can use with holy water. Yes, holy water or iron, and silver. Iron. So holy water, iron, or silver. Yes. You need if using metal, you need sprinkle little like dust, like powder. It needs to be a powder. Yes, powder. Right. Okay. Powdered silver or powdered iron, and powdered silver and iron together. Used for sprinkle, or water. Right. Okay. How much? How much do I need? I don't sell for. No, I mean how? What quantity? Quantity you're not gonna know. What amount do I need? Oh, I don't know if it actually says, does it? The spell. Let me check. Protection from evil and good. It actually doesn't say, which is strange. Probably about the same amount of holy water. Just small. And she walks over to one of the desks and pulls out a little baggie, the same sort of thing as she used for sprinkling on. She says, about this, right? Okay, good. I'll keep an eye out for that then. And then how do I actually do it? And she says, I can show you, but I do not know the spell. I show you how to do the spell, but I cannot do the spell. Right. So you've just studied it, but you don't know how to actually cast it. Yes. Let me check. Does she know it? Yeah, she doesn't know it. It's not on her spell list. But she studied it because she's smart. Gesundheit. Whoever the fuck that was. She takes you across to the other room and says, "You will need to hold your nose," and then walks in and walks into the lucky horseshoe is not made of iron. It's probably made of, I don't know, what would we make horseshoes out of? Brass, copper, bronze, some sort of nondescript alloy. Take out a water spray bottle and go psh, psh, the bad kitty. Yeah. She walks across into the door, which into the other room, the laboratory, the door to which she'd left open, so it started to air out a little bit, but it's still. And she takes you in and starts to clear away some things on the desk, and takes off a big box and puts it on the ground to make a bit of room. and then she says, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16. There is 16. What did you say? The word, the word for other planes, not this place. Planes, different planes. Planes. There are 16 planes that are not on this plane. Okay, that's more than I thought. Yes, lots. And there are more on inside than on outside as well. I'm not sure I understand that. Never mind. There are parts of the body you need to apply this iron, this powder or water, in those same places of the planes to protect you from that plane. Yes? I think I understand. So, like, there are different points on the body that correspond to the different planes outside of this plane, and I need to protect those parts of the body. I don't know. Tell me about it. Yeah. Yes. So here, and she starts to go through it. So she takes the next 10 minutes to try her best to explain. I'm going to roll a performance check on her part to see how well she can sort of explain herself in a language that's not her own. Not too bad, actually. Not too bad. And then an insight check on your part. Hey, nat 20. Oh, I should have rolled that on there, but oh well. Nat 20 insight check. So from you, that would be a 22. So you're starting to really understand what she's putting down. You're feeling like you've spent enough time with her now that you're starting to understand how she thinks, and that's helping with the translation issue. And so she takes 10 minutes to explain as best she can the different planes are sort of the upper planes, which are sort of the good creatures, and the lower planes, which are the bad creatures. And then the sort of left planes, as it were, is like your lawful creatures, and your right planes are your chaotic creatures. And between them, there's 16 outer planes. And then on top of that, you've also got the inner planes. And so the inner planes are made up of the Shadowfell and the Feywild and the elemental planes. And you're picking up on what she's saying, regardless of the fact that she's using different names for them. She's not calling it the Shadowfell or the Feywild, but you've heard of those planes of existence yourself through stories, so you know those words. So you're sort of translating it for yourself. And then she starts to talk about the different points of the body that correspond to those parts of the planes, and explains how as you're dabbing these areas of the body with either the powdered iron or the powdered iron silver or the holy water, it takes a few seconds to apply to each of the areas. Once you know the areas that you need to apply them to, you can do it relatively quickly. But you say a particular incantation while you're doing so, and she tells you the words that you need to say while you're doing it. She tells us this area the areas to dab, the order to do them in, and the words to say as you're doing them. And so you are learning the vocal, the somatic, and the material components needed for this spell. And by the end of about another half hour of talking to Talila, she has taught you protection from evil and good, which is a spell that we now have access to should we get the components for it. And I'm going to say that it would be. Let's make a ruling for it now. In fact, let me If you bear with me one moment while I Google it. Do we know the points to put it on a giant bee? Male may need it too. You can work it out, I'm sure. You can try. We got enough silver coins. Does 1 silver get us 10 shots? I don't know, Si. I'm looking it up now to see whether people say. Oh, because it doesn't list the gold quantity, it's considered to be a negligible quantity of it. If the material component doesn't mention a gold cost, it's less than a gold piece. It says a sprinkling of holy water. More than a few sprinkles in a vial. Yeah, probably not a lot then. Yeah, powdered silver, blah blah blah. It seems like it's a negligible amount. So if we were to grind up a silver coin, I'd say it probably costs like a single silver piece per casting of the spell. That's what I'm gonna put it as. A silver piece worth of silver and iron. I do not believe that you eat anything anytime anymore. She says, because it's a negligible amount, she says yes, we will buy some of the equipment from the items from her that she needs. She says because it's negligible, it turns out. So she says, yes, I have some here, and you say, I'm happy to buy it from you if you want. I'm happy to take it for a cost. How much does it weigh? Like, and you she gets out some scales and you weigh it out. How much are you willing to buy? How much do you want to buy? She's already got some she doesn't have holy water, but she does have powdered silver and iron that she's been experimenting with. How much would you want to buy from her? If you buy 1 gold piece worth of powdered silver and iron, then you can cast this spell 10 times before you need to replenish. Could get iron nails from a smith for half a silver coin and grind up half a silver coin. Yeah, but how are you going to grind up an iron nail and a silver coin on your own? Like, you've already got somebody here who's done it for you. This lady got a file we can buy or borrow. Yeah, we could ask her if we want. 9 or 19. What are you saying? With your teeth. Grinding an iron nail into iron powder with your teeth. Let's go prime number. Let's get a prime number to make Rob happy. We've got a lot of silver coins on us. Alright, so I will say how much silver amount on person. We've got 39 silver pieces. Should we get 9 silver pieces worth of the castings, and then we can say we've got 9. There we go. Nice round number. We've got 30 silver left, and we've got 9 silver worth. I'm going to write a little note to myself there. 9 castings worth of holy powder or whatever we need. 9 castings worth. Now what? I want to speak to Seidan. I want to speak to Seidan and Verin. What were we speaking to them about? We want to speak to Seidan about Horizon Walkers, right? We need to send a message to Toria somehow. Either we're going to go there ourselves, which will take about 6 hours from here. It's probably about noon at this stage, probably about lunchtime. Get a magic pigeon to the human village. There's no pigeon messengers from this town. This town is much too small for having pigeon messages. Seidan talk about Horizon Walker, Verin to talk about the Goblin camp, and to get a message to Shadridge somehow. The goblins were a thing we were doing. Yep. Ask about sending a message if anyone would know about Horizon Walker. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we will leave Talila then with budgie messages instead. We will leave Talila. Thank you very much for her hospitality. And she's gives us a broken goodbye in common, and follow us back out to the garden, and puts her gloves on again, and picks up the trowel and goes back to doing what she was doing in the garden when we arrived. And then we head back into the town to try and find Sathan, who left us to go and do her own thing for a little while, about an hour ago. Do we want to offload the mace somewhere? That's a good point. We currently have never used this mace during the campaign. We use our short sword and our longbow, and we've never used that mace, and it's taking up a bit of room in the inventory. We could sell it and get a bit of money back if we wanted to. If we could sell it to an armorer or something. Not necessarily, like that would be something that you would get more money for in Shadridge than you would here if you wanted to sell the mace. If you wanted to get rid of this hunting trap as well, you could sell it to somebody in Shadridge easily enough, but not so easily here. Actually, these guys, Helwyn is a town of hunters, so you might be able to sell it to someone here. It's just that they don't have as much use for coinage in this town, because the 4 towns are kind of self-sufficient between themselves, and they do trade rather than coin. So you'd probably get a better price for selling your items, mace and hunting trap, if you wanted to go back to Shadridge to do so. Find a smithy and buy a file. Why do you want a file, Boonstaboony? Is it so that you can powder up your own iron in future? Change the hunting trap to a lighter trap here. Sell and maybe upgrade the sword, get more arrows. We don't need more arrows, we've got 25. When was the last time we were using? We've done a bit of hunting since then. We've probably gone down to about 20 by now. Not keeping a super close track of the arrows, but we've probably lost a couple during the hunt. Lost a few. There we go. Probably not a good idea to talk about the Horizon Walk thing too much. Never know who's listening. Shadridge and upgrade the gear. Give it to them. They've given us heaps. They have given us a lot. Can we trade our sword and mace for a better sword? Yeah, maybe, Oakleaf, yeah. Let's have a look at what weapons rangers are good with. Rangers Guild territory. Only the most dashing, the most daring, the most charismatic of rangers. You are proficient with all martial weapons. So yes, you could have a long sword instead of a short sword if you wanted to. In terms of how much those cost, long swords cost 15 gold pieces. Short swords cost... Nope, that didn't make sense. Short swords cost 10 and maces cost 5. So yeah, a short sword and a mace is 15 gold pieces to buy. A longsword is also 15 gold pieces to buy, but you don't tend to sell them for the same price as you get them for. So you could sell your short sword and your mace for roughly half of what you got it for. You might get like 8 gold pieces, maybe a little more if you're charismatic and what have you. So if you went back to Shadridge, sold your short sword and your mace, and potentially bought a longsword, that could work if you wanted to do that. Seems like we're at a bit of a crossroads here, and it's difficult for us to decide exactly what to do. I want to put it to like a poll of some sort, but in order to do that, I would need to know what the options are, and I don't want to limit your options. I feel like maybe it's time to like draw somebody and give somebody the solo decision to make as to what exactly we need to do. So I'm going to open up my Nightbot. You've all got lots of decisions to make. You've all got your own. Everybody's got their own ideas about what we should do. It's too many options to put into a poll, so instead I'm going to put it to the chat using the keyword using the keyword !shrug. !SHRUG. If you want to be in with a chance to decide what the hell Apis is going to do now, we're at a crossroads situation. There are lots of different decisions to be made. There is Horizon Walker to be talked about with Sathan, but as somebody points out, you never really know who's listening, and if we don't know too much about it, maybe it's not a good idea to go around talking about it all the time. We can try and find Verin and see if they want the trap for free, or if you want to sell the trap, I don't know. You can try and ask for him, Verin, to teach you about other ways to trap animals that are more humane, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe... I don't know, maybe you want to... maybe you want to go to the goblin camp right now and see if there's clues there. Maybe you want to go back to Shadridge right now. Maybe you want to go to your bank and either withdraw some of your gold pieces or not. I don't know. Half of this village isn't fond of us, yes. Dolbin Iluwath, most people there were fond of us, and at the very least put up with us. There are some people here who actively dislike us. How to do the poll? All you need to do to be in with the chance to decide what to do is type the word !shrug. S-H-U-R-G. No, R-U-G. S-H-R-U-G. Shrug. And that enters you into the draw. And then in a moment or two, I will roll it. And one of those people will be chosen, and you will be in control. You will be fronting for Apis at that point. And you get to decide where Apis goes and what they do. Give away the mace, the sword, and the trap in order to get a longsword instead. Could be good. Trade the trap for a lighter one. Trade a trap add-on for the magic rope. Go to the human village. Bring infos. Collect bounties. Buy longsword in exchange for short sword and mace and money. Lots of options. Lots of options. I'll give you just one more moment for anyone else who wants to type !shrug. S-H-R-U-G. How much more damage does a longsword do compared to a short sword? So a short sword does 1d6 damage, and a longsword does 1d8 damage. It's an average of 1 more. You'll be fronting for Apis. This character really is just an experience in DID. It seems like it, yeah. Can we even use a longsword? Yes, we can, Piper Bird. I just checked that before. Rangers are proficient in all weapons. All simple and martial weapons. So we are proficient in longswords, and it would do an average of 1 extra damage if we hit with a longsword rather than a short sword. Alright. Everybody's had a chance to enter, and who's going to get it? 3, 2, 1. Boonstaboony. Boonstaboony, can you please make a message in the chat right now? Just a real quick one, just an emote or something, just to say that you've understood, you acknowledge you're still here. Anything at all, just to say that you've acknowledged that you have been drawn. I just really want to get rid of the bear trap. Yeah, fair enough. How many days since we left the goblin camp? I believe it's been 7 days. 7 days since we left the since we left the goblin camp. That was since we left Shadridge. Where's the timeline? The goblin camp. The last time we were at the goblin camp was on the 15th of Yolabris, and it's now the 20th. So 5 days ago we were there. That was when the tents were destroyed. It's been 5 days since we left the destroyed tents. Alright, Boonstaboony, you're in the chat. You get to decide, what does Apis do? I have veto rights in case you turn out to be a trolling prick. So tell me what you want Apis to do, and we'll do it. As long as it's within reason, as long as it's within an idea of what Apis, who Apis is, the sort of person Apis is. As an alter in a D&D system, I feel I can point out how similar this is to our own personal experience. Is it actually? Does it actually feel that way, Jake? Is it Jake that I'm still talking to? I don't think it's wise to be asking people about Horizon Walker in public when there's people here who don't like us. That doesn't seem smart, and we are slow to trust. Slow to trust is a good point, Sparrow. Slow to trust is one of the things that, one of the qualities about it. I'd rather not spend any more time without checking on that goblin camp. Hey, Alex the Lineman, who definitely found out about me through that D&D annual. I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Oh, have you actually had to save animals from these bear traps in the past in IRL, Oakleaf? Snap through the leg, right? And break the bones. End up chewing through their own leg to get away sometimes, right? Messed up. There's lots of different types of trap as well. You guys have, like, yeah, it's all well and good saying get rid of this inhumane hunting trap, but what sort of trap should Apis get in its place? Should they just get more rope? They've got a magic rope. Do they just need more rope so that they can set snare traps? Do they need like thin cord, like chicken wire and stuff? I don't know. What sort of traps should they get? The old cartoon, the box with a stick, a piece of cheese underneath it. With KaikoCon possibly co-fronting, but yeah, it's a bit similar. We have a lot of day-to-day activities that could take a bit longer because multiple different alters want different things. Yeah. Well, this does feel like that every decision made it takes a lot longer to do things. Every session doesn't actually achieve too much more in progress of the story. But hey, sometimes an actual game of D&D is like that as well. Not that I'm thinking of any particular group in particular where it takes an entire half hour to get a 50-foot progress across a chasm of something. I'm not thinking of any particular group when I say that. But sometimes even when everybody's playing one character, there's still no choices being made. Boonstaboony says, let's get a lighter trap, swap the mace and short sword for a long sword, go to the goblin camp, but think it's been a long time ago, and because we've banged on about it, let's get a file when we pass a smithy. Thanks for great DMing and ideas. Alright, so the things that we do know are that the place that we're gonna be best getting. So you meant swap gift trap for a lighter. Yeah, I gotcha. So the things that we know are the places we're going to find the smithies are the Mwinglofau drow, and we do know that they are somewhat on the way to the goblin camp. So Apis decides, all right, I was going to talk to Sathan about Horizon Walker, but a part of their mind goes, there's a lot of people here who don't like me. A, I don't want to stick around this town as longer than I have to. And B, I don't want to have to open myself up to being vulnerable around these people if it turns out that being a Horizon Walker gives me all sorts of vulnerabilities or something. We don't know who's listening, and what ill they wish for me. So Apis decides against it in the moment and decides, I'm going to head to Mwinglofau. Once I get to Mwinglofau, they are they're miners and smithers. And so they'll hopefully be able to provide me with a longsword in return for a mace and short sword. And I can give them a hunting trap to sweeten the deal if I need to. Hopefully they can replace it with some sort of a lighter trap. And then from there, I'll be pretty close to the goblin camp. I can make my way to the goblin camp and check it out. That's Apis's plan. A Schrodinger's box trap would be great. Yeah. Caltrops would be nice. Yeah, we can get caltrops. Yeah, it would have been run over it like Lego while it was chasing us. That's right. So what sort of traps as Apis sets off out of the town? They try and find Sathan on the way out, but they don't see her. So we continue on out. We start making our way up towards Winglofau, which is a couple of hours away. And as we're journeying towards Winglofau, we're thinking about what sort of traps we want to take instead. I don't know enough about hunting traps, guys, as Robert. So you guys are going to need to suggest some things for me. What is a humane version of a trap that is lighter and humane, and something that Apis would have? What are some traps that Apis could have? Going to the store can sometimes take forever because everyone wants snacks or something. Yeah. Darth Turtle, rope with topological knots. Cantor's hunting trap. Teeth get smaller and smaller. Are these versions of humane traps? Should I look them up? Is our bank too far off the track? Yeah, that's in the opposite direction. Snare and caltrops. Snare. Basic rope for snare. Caltrops for defense. Snare and caltrops. Snaring. A lot of people saying snares. Are snares humane, are they? A fold-down basket trap. Get a shovel so that we can make a pitfall trap. Okay. A shovel's not exactly going to be that much lighter than carrying around a hunting trap, though. If the weight was the issue. And yeah, of course, digging a trap is going to be a lot of time. Google Retiarius. All right. I will trust you, Sai, to not be making me Google things that I shouldn't be Googling. Retiarius was a Roman gladiator who fought with the equipment styled on that of a fisherman, a weighted net, three-pointed trident, and a dagger. What has this got to do with anything? It's the trident guy with the net. I know the trope. Are you saying you're going to turn Apis into that, or are you going to get a trident? Use a cage. Cage is much too big to carry. Where would we keep the shovel? Did we just lose 5 arrows? Yeah, I'd thought about it, and I was like, oh, we fought the Displacer Beast with arrows, and we fought a couple other beasties now with elks and stuff as we've been out hunting. So we've probably lost a few arrows. No worries, Taufei. I don't know what they're called, but we have cages you bait with some meat and then an animal eats if the door closes. It sounds like not the sort of thing we could carry around with us as we're an adventurer, though, are we? I feel like rope to make a snare, caltrops, and a net, possibly, are much more likely. Puckfin, as far as I know, these stereotypical bear traps with teeth were originally just a wavy shape that would limit movement without wounding the animal. Oh yeah. Yeah. Net traps could potentially be set up to like drop on the animal while we're asleep, though. It could be set off like if you trigger it, it drops a weighted net onto it or something. Snares and rope, caltrops, maybe a net. Sounds like the best at this time. All right. We'll do that. So on our way out of town, before we set off, actually, retcon that, we'll go back a little bit. On our way out of the hunting village, Helwarin, we ask, let's see, actually, are we going to see Verin? Where are you, Verin? Nope, not around. We head into a shop that looks like it sells like things for hunting equipment, and we try and ask the guy there. Let's see actually who works in Helwarin that we might know. Verin is the hunter. The other hunter's dead. Alchemist is. Oh no, that's in the. I'm looking at the wrong one now. Oh no, yeah, no, Talila's in this town. So we haven't met this guy yet. We walk in. I'm going to see, is he approachable or not? He actually is. He doesn't mind us too much, this guy. We walk into this hunter's shop, and he looks up and sort of nods, and then looks back down to what he was doing, and it looks like he's fletching arrows. And we ask, excuse me, do you speak common? He says, a little, yes. I'm wanting to get rid of this hunting trap. Do you have any need of it? Like, could you make use of it? And he looks at it and says, you're wanting to sell? Aye, I'm wanting to sell it. Right. I can buy that for you, from you, yes. How much do you want for it? You say, well, I bought it for 5 gold pieces, so and I've taken decent care of it. So as much as you can, you're willing to buy it for. I'm gonna make a persuasion check on Apis's part to see how well they are handling themselves in this social situation here. 9, so slightly below average. He looks it over. Yes, he kind of like mutters to himself a little. I give you 15 silver. So he's offering us 15 silver, which is 1.5 gold. What do you guys think about that? In fact, let me put a poll. $1.5 GP. Take it. Haggle for more. Walk away. What other options would there be? Take it, walk away, or haggle for more. I think that's it. That's good enough. 1 minute to decide. Boom. There you go. So we bought it for 5. Usually, generally speaking, things that you try to sell, you'll get roughly half the buying cost for it. And if you roll poorly on persuasion, then you'll get less than that. And if the guy's racist or anything like that, then you'll get less again. Can we trade? We can use it as a trade-in for a different trap. Yeah, if we want to buy rope and things from him. So you guys have got the chance to decide. You need to vote. Do you take it? Do you try and haggle for more? Or do you walk away? If you're going to be buying rope, you would know that rope usually costs about a gold piece for 50 feet of it. Alright, so with 76% of the vote, you've decided you're going to try and haggle for more. So you try and haggle him up a bit. Come on, pal. I bought it for 5 gold pieces, and it's in good working condition. I used it the other day on those goblins that attacked here. Actually, managed to trap a goblin in one of them. So it's got goblin blood on it. If that raises the price, and he sort of laughs a bit. I'm gonna roll on his behalf to see how he's feeling today. Okay, he's in a bit of a generous mood. I'll go Wales. I'll go as high as 18 silver. And you say, tell you what, I'm wanting to trade it in. I actually want a trap still, but I just don't want to use this one. It's heavy and it's bulky, and I don't like what it does to the animals. So I've seen you've got rope here. if I was to buy a rope from you, and do you have any caltrops? He says, yes, I do, over here. And he points back to a shelf behind him. Caltrops, a bag of 20 is a gold piece. So a rope and a bag of 20 caltrops is 2 gold pieces. He says, if I trade you this for a bag of caltrops and a rope, how's that? And he goes, and he looks him over. How much is a net? Nets are also a gold piece. And while you're at it, how about, have you got any nets here? He goes, of course. I'll take a net, and he points over to the corner where they are, and you walk over and you check them out for the size and things, and you're like, this one's decent weight to it. Yeah, I can take that. So you walk over with the net, and you place that down to him, and you say, I'll take a net, a bag of caltrops, a rope, and I'll trade in this, and then pay you. On top of that, I'll pay you. I don't know what do you reckon's fair? And he goes. He totals it up. So by the book, what you're buying is worth 3 gold pieces, and what he's giving you is what you're selling him is worth like 2.5ish. So he goes, right. For these 3 and 5 silver, I will take this. I'll take this and 5 silver for these 3 items. What do you guys think? He's now buying it from you, with 5 silver on top of it, and he's basically giving you about an equal deal. You've managed to haggle him up a bit because he was feeling like he was in a bit of a generous mood. Deal, lock it in. All right, so we'll go with. Come on, where are you? Silver amount on person. So you hand over 5 silver pieces. You also hand over your hunting trap. That's gone. And you buy another rope, which is going to be... there it is. Item rope. Bing. You've got a secondary rope, the non-magical version. So you've got a magic rope, rope of commanding, and a non-magical rope of 50 feet. We've got our bedroll there. Boom. What else did we just buy? We bought some caltrops. I don't think I've got any caltrops here yet. I will make a little note to get Spidey to make me caltrops. And I know I don't have a net, so we'll get Spidey to make me a net as well. And it's a lot lighter to carry those things than it is to carry that 25-pound hunting trap for sure. Right, thank you, pal. That's very nice of you. You don't happen to sell swords or anything, weapons? And he shakes his head. No, I have hunting knives and daggers to cut animals. And he said, no, I've got a short sword already in your patio little sheath. But no, I'm looking for a slightly better weapon. I don't use this one. And you pat your other hip to where the mace is, and you're like, I don't tend to use it, so I was wanting to. I've been doing a lot of walking, and I don't really want to be carrying it around with me. He says, Munglofau does weapons. They'll be able to sell you items there. All right, thank you very much. I was heading out anyway. So you turn around, you thank this guy, and you head on out. And then you head out of the village and spend 2 hours walking towards Munglofau. A short sword's just a long knife, that's right. Yeah, we used our short sword to skin the displacer, that's right. So that's something to keep in mind, actually. If we wanted to sell our mace and our short sword in favour of having a long sword, we might want to get a dagger as well, because otherwise we don't have anything for like skinning animals. Now we've headed out through the forest with our bee companion Mel. And we've been travelling, just recharging our batteries. We're not very a social person as a piss hive. We're not the best with social situations. And we've spent a good 7 days or so now around people. So it's nice to have a couple of hours of just being out in the forest. there are a few moments of like jumpiness when we hear something like snapping, and we suddenly get the image of like malevolent glowing eyes behind the trees and like long panther-like tentacles, and then we turn and realize it's the shadow playing tricks on us and stuff like that. We're a little bit on edge from our situation yesterday, but we nevertheless make it through the forest without issue. Forests being our favoured terrain means that we can travel through them without too much issue. We've got good perception and stuff while we're travelling. And so we make it all the way to the small sort of rocky mountainous terrain of Mwynglofau, and we remember. Well, actually, let's see if we remember. I'm going to roll an intelligence check on Apis's part. Is it a check or a save? It's actually the same thing for us, so it doesn't matter. Skill intel. 19. All right. So with a 19, we remember, thankfully, as we approach the entrance to Mwynglofau, we remember that when we got here last time, there were guards on duty with crossbows, and if we were to have just walked into the cave, there might have been a bit of an issue. So first, Verin fired an arrow into the cave to kind of like warn, hey, we're arriving, there's some people here. And as the arrow clattered against the inside of the stone wall, a bunch of them came out with crossbows, and he had to be like, whoa, 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 it's just us, don't worry. So we remember that. We draw out an arrow. We take aim at the cave front, and we loose it. Let's see if I can change this arrow's number down. There we go. It shatters against the inside of the stone wall, and alerts the people on duty to our presence. And sure enough, three well-armoured drow come to the front with crossbows loaded and point in our direction. Lithgoth Wunskende. Apis Hive, I was here the other day. I don't speak too much of Elvish, sorry. And you put your arms up and show that you're not a threat. One of them, Ref Quathirentka Witi, Verin, from Helworin. Helworin? Where are you from? Where are you hail from? From Helworin. Well, I'm obviously not from there, but I've come from there right now. Right. You were here the other day. Yes, come on up. You start to make your way up towards them. Just keep your hands where we can see them for now. I'm not here to threaten you all. I'm here to trade if possible. I can talk to you a little bit about what's been going on in the last few days. We did catch up to that ogre and the goblins after we left here. We did catch up to them. We put finish to them, and he says, "Yes, I heard you. I heard somebody had attacked the people from Arachel. Said that there was that they dispatched the ogre and the dwarves, the ogre and the goblins, and with the help of some outsiders. They said that they'd dispatched them. They made it sound that way. Yes, they didn't outright say that, but they made it sound that way. Yeah. Well, they turned up after everything had been dealt with, accused me of being the one to be responsible, and then left without doing anything to help those wounded. So if you call that helping," and the guy sort of chuckles and says, I call that Arachel, yes. Come on in. What was your name again? My name's Apis. And he says, it's lovely to meet you, Apis. Lovely to meet you properly. My name is, well, you can call me Trell. Trell? Aye, Trell. For people spelling, that's just Trel. It's obviously short for something. Because elves are never as simple as single consonants. No, they've got to have hyphens and apostrophes and double L's and things in there. So but he goes by Trell. He says, right, what can we do for you? What news do you come with? And you spend the next few minutes just explaining everything. I'm not going to go over stuff that you already know, but you explain what happened with the ogre and the goblins. You explain helping them with the Prin flowers. You explain your dealings with the Arachel folk, Lothriki. You explain the Displacer Beast situation. You probably don't mention Horizon Walkers, because you're now conscious of keeping that to yourself until you know you can trust people, and Apis is slow to trust. He's Welsh, yes. Yeah, most of my Elvish is based on Welsh. But then you talk about the Displacer Beast and taking that to Helwrin and getting a cloak made up and blah blah blah, and how you are going to go back to the Goblin camp now and just make sure that you didn't miss any last things. And you were interested in getting some better weaponry, and you sort of pat down your short sword and mace and explain how you don't really use the mace, so you need a short sword, a long sword if possible. Boons to Booney, we need holy water from somewhere. You don't necessarily need holy water because you've got iron now, and in order to cast the protection spell, you needed holy water or powdered iron and silver, and you've got powdered iron and silver. So you don't necessarily need the holy water. He says, right, we're not used to trading with outsiders, but there's a first time for everything, so come on in. We can show you around a little. And he leads you deeper into the cave a little. And the other guys have put their weapons down and they sort of nod in your direction, and then they, as you leave to go back deeper into the cave with Trell, the other two turn back to the front and just kind of in a casual manner, they just stand holding their weapons, and one across from each one across from the entrance to the cave, and start talking to each other in Elvish. Alright, Oakleaf has been the first person to ever redeem what's that called again, to name something in the world. Anduria Blecken, a female warrior that fought on the edge of the Goblin War. A half-elf, half-human who only wants to protect her family. Nice. Alright, Oakleaf, where would you like Anduria Blecken to be? She could be an NPC in this very town. She could be half drow, half human. If you wanted to meet her right away, you can meet her here. Otherwise, you can have her be someone that pops up later into the campaign if you want. Do it! Alright. Anduria Blecken. Let me take her across from this into my document. And thank you for being the first person to redeem this. What's it called again? This feature where you were allowed to directly say something about the world. Actually, Control Z. Let's put that in the Winglofau bit. There she goes. I remember they were way more friendly. Yes, they were much more friendly. It seems like the Drow are familiar with the concept of being judged harshly for who you are. Something that you don't have control over, and so they are not as they're not as xenophobic as other elves often are. I take it a dagger might have to wait until we get back to our riverbank. Probably can't trade a used mace and short sword with both a longsword and a dagger. No, possibly not. Didn't even notice we didn't have a dagger. It's always a good idea to keep a small knife. Correct, yeah. But a dagger isn't too expensive. Daggers are only 2 gold pieces. So you might be able to trade something else or haggle them. But it's unlikely, really. You actually do have 2 gold pieces in made up out of silver. Part of the Scholars or Explorers pack. Ah, there we go. That's what I was thinking of. Do we have an explorer's pack? What would we have started with? Let me double check something then real quick, guys. Just bear with me. Ranger. What do rangers start with? Do they start with explorer's pack? Where is it? Equipment. Blah blah blah. A dungeoneer's pack or an explorer's pack. And I think we started with the explorer's pack. So we should have a knife. Apis is running around the woods with the original Rambo super knife. Yeah. Explorer's pack. No, there's no knife in this. Which one has a knife in it? One of them definitely says a knife. I know it. I know it. Small knife. It's in the Scholar's Pack. There we go. It's in the Scholar's Pack. 10 sheets of parchment, a little bag of sand, and a small knife. The Explorer's Pack came with the backpack, the bedroll, a mess kit, tinderbox, torches. We've got all of these things. Mess kit. Oh, we don't actually have the mess kit on there, do we? Tinderbox, torches, rations, and water skin, and the rope. Yeah, so we started with the Explorer Pack, got all of that stuff, but not the mess kit. But we can assume we've got the mess kit. Actually, maybe we just sell the mess kit and get a dagger instead. She has no kids, but she's lost a brother to the war. Okay, cool. Anduria Blecken, female warrior that fought on the edge of the Goblin War, half elf, half human, who only wants to protect her family. Lost a brother, no kids. She wouldn't have kids anyway because she's a Bridden, and therefore she is infertile. I mean, she could have kids with magic, I suppose. There's magical means of having kids when you're infertile, but for the most part, half breeds are infertile. What did we skin the kitty with? We skinned the kitty with a short sword. We do have a knife currently. We're saying that once we sell the short sword and mace, we won't then have a knife. A decent hunting knife yet. Odd that we're a hunter and we don't have a skinning knife or a knife to cut meat apart. We had the short sword. We've used our short sword for that. It's basically a long knife. If we're as good a hunter as we are a cook, we mashed up the animals with our mace. This is how I prepare meal. What did we get, like a nat 1 or something on our food attempts? Adopt, yeah, she could adopt children, yeah. No worries, Taufe. Meat tenderizer / mace. Not the right tool for the job, but that's what they've used. Alright. Mashed squirrel, anyone? So we are taken deeper into the cave until it gets to the point where there is a large, sort of 10 feet wide, heavy wooden trapdoor that is already lifted up and held back. And in this sort of 10 foot by 10 foot hole, there are stone steps that lead down at the back of the cave. Very well fashioned, it seems. As a dwarf, we recognise the stonework very well. And we can tell that although it's not quite up to dwarf standards, it's pretty good for an elf. Pretty good for an elven village of miners. The stonework in the center of the stone steps has started to do that dipping thing that happens with very old steps, and so like if this was dwarven, we know ways to get around that. We know how to prepare our stonework that keeps that from happening, but elves obviously don't. And so that you look at it and go like, oh yeah, it's not bad for Elvish work. You make your way down these stone steps, and there are torch brackets. Actually, these guys have superior dark vision, so they would not necessarily need torch brackets so much, not until it gets much darker. So you also have dark vision, just not as good a dark vision as Drow do. So as you walk down, you find it starting to get a little bit too dim for your liking before eventually it's dark enough that they want to light the torches as well. And at that point, there's torch brackets on the walls. You reach the bottom level, and it levels out. It's relatively warm down here. It's not like a damp, dank dungeon or anything. It feels like a welcoming entrance to a town. And the sounds of elven talking and the sounds of laughter and things are starting to echo up this stone tunnel back towards you. What did they make them with? A mace? They made it with a pate maker. Yeah. What's up, Lord Kosh? How's it going? You continue on towards the sounds of this lively nature underground, and eventually you see that it opens out ahead. There's much more volume coming from this as you round a corner. You see that there's at the end of this corridor, it opens out into a huge underground chamber. And as you approach, you can see that there's stone steps that stop. The balcony stops at the end of this corridor, and then the stone steps that go down both sides of it and lead out into this like huge underground cavern, maybe about a quarter of a mile across in both directions. It's like a really large cave that you can tell from the ceiling work was a natural cave at some point, with all of the stalactites hanging off the ceiling. But most of the stalactites have been decorated, not only for decoration purposes, but also to house lighting. So a bunch of them are used as like candelabras now, and chandeliers with lanterns hanging from them, illuminating this underground town. As you sort of approach the end of this corridor and see this cavern open up around you, you look down over the balcony of the T-junction of the steps that you're standing at the top of, and you see the entire town spread out ahead of you. There's probably about 24 buildings or so, maybe as many as 36, various different sizes, and there's a clear grid set out to the streets in this town, and there's a large square in the center of it that's open. There is actually a fountain that's built into the town square as well, that seems to be spewing water forth. You're not sure exactly what powers it, but something is obviously powering this water, this spring, this underground spring. The stonework again on either side is decent for elves. It's like a good job. You can see that across the other side of the village there are multiple tunnels that have signs like painted onto the stonework above those tunnels in Elvish. You're not sure what they read. And Trell says, as you arrive and start looking over this, he says, "So, welcome to Munglofau. This is you are the first dwarf to step foot into this village in probably over 100 years. So you are potentially going to draw some interesting glances your way." And you're like, "Yeah, I'm used to it." And he goes, "People will not look unkindly on you unless you are the first to act in such a manner. So stay with me and you'll be fine. I will take you to the smith," and takes you down the steps. And as you walk down the steps, you can hear Elvish voices. You can see Elvish kids like running around, playing tag and things, and playing with stick and hoop, all that sort of typical games. And then he leads you through the streets, and people, sure enough, they stop and stare and whispering in Elvish. And then you are taken to a building towards the outskirts, like it's one of the furthest towards the outer walls, and it's a little bit removed from the rest of the village, and you can see that the reason for it is that there's a constant huge furnace burning on the outskirts of it, and it's billowing out smoke, which is actually heading up, and there's like a natural formation of stalactites that's blocking that smoke from billowing out into the rest of the cavern, and is instead finding its way up through fissures and cracks in the rocks above. So as you approach this building, you can see that there is a woman standing out at the furnace outside of it with very thick leather gloves on and a very thick leather apron, and she's got her like platinum white hair pulled back into a bun that's like one up on the back of her head. She's got quite dark skin, but not nearly as dark as the rest of the drow here. She's got this look to her that makes you instantly recognize that she's probably half drow, half human. And she has these light sort of lilac coloured eyes, but this skin that's like an inky blue, but almost like you've taken your ink and you've mixed it with water. You've diluted the inky blue, so you can see the blue a lot more than the darkness to it. It's like a lighter blue. And she's currently taking something out of this furnace and putting it onto an anvil, and then she picks up a large hammer and starts and he approaches and says, Andoria. And she looks over. Andoria, we have a guest, he says in common. Ah. A dwarf? Unusual. She... One moment. You see some of the slag starting to break off of this iron sword that she's currently hammering at. She gets it to the point where she can then put it back in the furnace, and she does so. What you doing in what are you doing in Munglofau, dwarf? You say Apis. Sorry, Apis. My manners. I'm Andoria. I'm the blacksmith here. And you say, oh, well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm looking for. I'm here because I'm helping out the sister towns a lot, and you kind of explain a little bit, just like quick, give her a quick like 1 minute rundown of what you've been doing. And she goes, right, yes, I'd heard about some of the troubles. That's why I was actually preparing they've got me making some more weapons for Aruchel. They said that our troubles are not yet over, apparently. That's what I heard from them. Troubles not yet over? What do you mean? They're always so cryptic, but they've said that we need to arm more of our people. We've lost a few men during the raids from the goblins, and we need to arm up a little better. They're going to start training us. The Arachelians are going to send some warriors to train militia in each of the sister towns. So I've been asked to double my output of weapons for the time being. Right. Well, I don't know anything about that, but do you expect more battles then? Well, I mean, it seems like Arachel does, yes, and they are usually not too wrong about this. It's sometimes they get things wrong, sometimes they're a little too cryptic, and then they try to claim after the fact that they got something right because they. I won't go into it. What can I do for you? Why did you come to me? And Chell says, I will leave you to talk. I should get back to my post. He says, very well. No, thank you, Trell. And he turns and leaves you. They can see the future, right? Yes. They claim so. Yes, it seems that way. And they're saying that there's more troubles to come. That's the words they used. I don't want to worry anybody. Try not to spread that around. Right. Okay. Well, that's a little bit concerning, but did it have anything to do with the goblins? I don't know. I didn't hear from them directly. I just got word that I was to double my output of weaponry. Normally I focus on tools and picks and things for the mines, but apparently I have to focus on weapons at the moment. Right, well that's kind of why I'm here actually. Should have wished for a Swedish accent. I have weapons that I use just as like personal weapons for getting about, but I don't tend to use my mace too much. And you get it out and you place it on the the table work surface outside her blacksmithing shop. I don't tend to use this too much, and I've been getting attacked more recently. Got attacked by an owlbear, got attacked by those goblins and the ogre, and I got attacked by a displacer beast yesterday as well, day before, whenever it was. So I feel like I might want to upgrade my personal weapon. And she says, yes, you're only using a short sword. That's if you're going to be walking around these forests, I'm sure a longsword would be much better for you. And you say, all right, well, we're on the same page then. I was wondering if I could potentially interest you in like some sort of a trade-in deal. I don't have a heck of a lot of money, but I can potentially work something out. I'd like to have something a little bit better at protecting myself. Yes, of course. Of course, yes. I'm actually, just give me one moment. I need to deal with this one again. It's up to temperature, and she gets out the huge tongs again. She brings out the iron from the sword, and then she looks it over, quenches it, brings it back out again. Yes, I think that's sufficient for now. One moment then, and she grabs the front of this furnace and closes it. Let's come inside, and I can talk in my shop. I have finished items in there that we can discuss. So you take her. She takes you inside, and you bring your weaponry inside as well. And she says, "Let me see them then." And she's going to check out the weaponry that you've got and see if it's worth anything. Let me do a little appraisal check on her part. Okay, so she doesn't actually manage to. That was her inspection check. She doesn't actually manage to see a lot of the worst parts. She checks the worst parts out and being like, oh yeah, there's not a lot of rust on it, but there's a big dent here. But because of that, she kind of overlooks the smaller nicks and things, and perhaps values it a little higher than she should have otherwise, because she rolled poorly on her investigation check. Yeah. And then she does the same on the mace. Checks it out. Checks the sturdiness of each of the little rivets that are providing the piercing damage from it. Bludgeoning part of it, yeah, that's good. Gives it a couple of test swings. She's got like a wooden mannequin that seems to just have been like vague humanoid shape that's been carved out of a solid log. She turns around and cracks it, and yeah, that's still very much in good use. I'm happy to buy these from you. I can definitely work the damage out of it. The sword has seen a lot more damage. This has seen a lot of use, but I can still buff out a lot of these cuts and nicks and bumps and such. I'd be willing to sell you a long sword of this sort of quality here, and she hands it over. Have a little practice with one of these and see if your weight, see if it's the right weight for you. It's all about finding the right balance in your hand. I will roll a persuasion check now to kind of like sum up the entirety of how well we can haggle with her as we try and sort of get this deal finished. How persuasive can we be? Ooh, 7. Not very. We have a lucky horseshoe to reroll that if we want to try and be better. Humans don't sound Swedish. You need to make a Swedish species. Yeah, I need a Swedish species. No, I don't need a Swedish species because then I'll have to do Swedish and I'm not good at it. We have a lucky horseshoe if we really want to re-roll that. If we want to do better if we want to try and haggle her down a lot more than we will otherwise. Let's make this a poll. It's a once per day thing. So we were going to go check out the goblin camp after this. So if we use the horseshoe now on haggling a price of new weaponry, we won't be able to use it later today. There is a 2-minute decision. 2-minute decision. Do we use the horseshoe to reroll this or not? In the meantime, she takes out like a selection of these long swords that are hanging on the back wall of her shop, and she starts to lay them out. She takes them out of their scabbards, their sheaths, and shows each of them in turn, like the different thicknesses, the different designs. Can we get her to come with us to kill goblins? So as far as we know, Oakleaf, there's no goblins left. We killed all the ones that we know about, like even the ones in the tents and things. We were going to go check out the remains of the goblin camp to see if there's any any clues left behind there. But yeah, we can definitely ask her about it. So she starts to show us off the different swords that she's got, and she says that this one's this price and this one's this price and this one's this and blah blah blah. She's much better at coming up with actual tangible prices for them because she hasn't spent her whole life in this village like a lot of the others have, and so she's a little bit more of an adventurer herself. She was once a warrior. Once were warriors. It's get more loneliness to relax after we get to know so many new people. That's a good point, Asmiel. We are quite socially inept, and we have spent nothing but time with people for the last 11 days or thereabouts. So it might be time for us to just go off on our own to this goblin camp, especially because if she might come with us if she A, didn't have enough work to do, and B, actually thought that there would be goblins to kill there. Alright, so we decided with 69% of the vote, nice, not to use the horseshoe on this roll, so we just didn't do a very good job of persuading her. She says, I'm afraid the prices of my swords are a little more than I would be willing to trade in for the mace and the sword on their own. I would be willing to give you 10 gold pieces for the 2 items, but I would be selling my long swords for 15. So I would need an extra 5 gold pieces from you if I was to sell you a longsword. Before I go, how's Mel? Haven't heard from her much. She came with us on the journey between the 2 villages, but she's probably stayed outside the cave. You probably explained to Trell this is my bee, and he's like, sweet, and she's stuck around outside, I think. Shut up and take my money. So we have 4 gold pieces on us, all combined. We've got 4 gold pieces, and she would want an extra 5 for one of the things. So we say, well, we have a bee. Who's Mel? Mel is our giant bee companion. She's a potbelly pig-sized bee. She's a giant bee, and she follows us around and helps us fight and things. We saved her life about 10 days ago. Could there be longswords at the goblin camp? Potentially. We put a down payment. Yeah, we could potentially put a down payment. Kitsuna Fox says, could we offer her the 4 gold and a favour of some sort? So we tell her, all right, I'm not sure I've got quite enough. Let me check how much money I've got, and I'll see if we can do a. Oh, hey Jackie, you're new. Apis tips out the coins onto one of the desks in the shop and counts them out. I've got 1, 2, 3, so I could put together four gold here. Put them into a pile. I could put together 4 gold and 5 copper, and that's literally all I've got on me. But I do have money stashed elsewhere. So I could do you a trade of these 2 items and 4 gold, and then perhaps if you really want another gold, I can. And she goes, let's have a look. She goes, you said you'd killed goblins, right? I did. Several of them. She goes, I'll do it for 3 gold and the trading. Goblins. Anyone who slays those green bastards have earned themselves some leeway in my shop. Thank you very much. And so you hand over 3 gold. I'm going to take that off now for us. Where is it? Gold amount on person. So we've got 0 gold there. I'll take. You ask her, just for argument's sake as well, you ask her if she can swap out some money for us, and she says yes. So we can swap out. Some of this. We take that down into 5 silver instead. So that goes up to 30, and then she takes 2 of those. Boom. There we go. So she does a little money laundering for us. Takes 3 of our gold, and our mace and our short sword. Oopsie. There we go, and gives us a long sword instead, which I will get added to our equipment when I can. I'll add it to the list here. Long sword. Get Mike to do that for me. We do need a dagger as well, which would be 2 gold pieces, she says. She says, we explained that we need a dagger or some kind of hunting knife for, at the very least, like skinning beasts and things. And she says, well, I can't just give you one of those, but if you make me a promise, you're heading to the goblin camp now, yes? Yeah, did you leave any goblins there before? There were a couple of bodies left around. If you bring me some goblin ears, I will give you if you make me a promise to bring me some goblin ears, I will give you this. And she hands out a hunting knife. All right. She says, yeah, and hands over a hunting knife. So you've got a something that is equivalent to a dagger in a pinch, but is meant for hunting rather than fighting. And we have a promise to bring her some goblin ears as a proof on having killed some goblins because she hates them. All right, so we thank her for her work, and we ask if she wants to come with, but she says, "I'm sorry, I've got much too much work to be doing here. The Arachelians didn't give us exact times; they never do, as to when these things are meant to happen. But she says that they said that they were keen to have the weaponry as soon as possible. So I have to really work double time in order to bring those weapons to the forefront." Right. Well, if I see any goblins on the way, I'll let you know. I'll let you know where they are. Yes, please do. I would love to take I would love to take my anger out on some more goblins. It's been far too long. I'm getting rather pent up down here a little. I like to get out to stretch my legs from time to time, and in here, not so much. Well, it's been lovely meeting you, Anduria. I better be going now. I've got to get to that goblin camp. So you bid your adieus, and you say goodbye, and leave the underground town. You head back up those stairs, back along that corridor, and back up those final steps into the entrance cave, where you walk along. You see Trell and the other two. You thank them for their duties, and you head outside. You whistle and pull Mel's attention over to yourself. Mel comes flying on over. You get everything you wanted from down there? I did. Got a longsword, got a hunting knife. We're good to go. And then you set off towards the goblin camp. So you walk from there so it would be about noon when you set off from there. So 2-ish, 3-ish, about 4-ish, 5-ish. So it's getting towards late afternoon when you arrive at the goblin camp. And the first thing you notice in the goblin camp is that the tents, which were destroyed and sort of smashed up by the ogre when he got back and was angry about it, the ones that have been destroyed have been removed. They're gone now. The ones that were not destroyed by the ogre, because the ogre destroyed all the tents that weren't his own, and then went to sleep in his own, and then went out to raid again, leaving his tent there. His tent is also gone. All of the tents are gone. There is a fire pit. There is the remnants of the huge fire that was in the center of the town. That is still there, but it's all burnt out now. It's just a huge pile of ash. The tents that you left the stolen food in, all of the food that they'd stolen from the villagers, those tents have gone. The food has been taken, and the goblin bodies are still there. The goblin bodies that you saw in this tent, the ones that you left, you snapped the neck of one of them and you shot one of them with an arrow and whatnot, and a few of them were eaten by wolves. Those bodies are still there. They haven't been taken anywhere or dealt with, but all of the tents and anything salvageable has been taken. Any of the tents that were smashed up to the point of not being useful anymore, like the canvas had huge tears in it and stuff and wasn't in large enough sizes to be useful, those are still there, still littering the place. So something has been through, salvaged anything useful, and gotten rid of anything not useful. And that's where we're going to leave it. And we're going to pick up here next time with trying to search for clues as to who has taken all of these useful things.